Hi, I'm Rob McNeish. Welcome to the North Grove Farm and our fourth check-in for our take-home grow kits. It's our 8-week check-in. Today we're going to be looking at our plants, seeing what's going right, seeing what's going wrong, and showing you a little tips and tricks here on how to get some more out of your plants that you've got. So peas are here, they're growing. Some of them have latched onto the poles. I lost a couple pea plants. I had 4 in here. I think I've only got 3 now. They weren't happy a little bit. I think I might have been overwatering or they dried out, but they look like they're a little healthier now. Should be getting some blooms at some point, so you can go around and clip off some of the brown leaves. If you've got a branch on a pea that looks like this and it's going to be dying, you kind of want to do some triage and clip it or pull them off with your finger. Just be a little gentle so that the plant isn't trying to save this kind of dying part of itself, and it could kind of focus more on its own growth. Otherwise, peas are looking good now. Nice green tops, there's no discoloration up here, and they've been latching on to their poles, so we should start seeing some flowers here in the next little bit, and then we'll start seeing some peas in about 2 weeks or so. Kale, same thing. I thinned some of my kale last time. I planted a little too many, but it looks like the heat, kale doesn't really like the heat. These plants will really excel in the fall when it's cold, but I'm just going to be clipping some of these, making sure that we're getting any kind of leaves that are dried or out of there. You can use your fingers too, just to kind of pinch them off, but these kind of browning leaves here. If you were up on it like I wasn't here, I could have eaten these before they had died. But just kind of getting rid of some of the stuff that doesn't look so hot and making sure that the plant can kind of focus on itself and its healthier bits. You could pick 1 or 2 of the bigger leaves here and eat them if you wanted to, put them in the salad or something like that. But these will get bigger and bigger as time goes on. If you've got a little bit of fertilizer left, you could also give them some fertilizer today, and they'd like that. Same with our beets. We're going to thin our beets a little bit. Looking like they got a little dried out. I probably wasn't as good at watering them as some others. We did get a bunch of rain, so I did leave them, but I am going to clip some of the browner leaves off. These are probably still fine to eat if you wanted to. In a couple more weeks, you'll have some beets for sure. You could also thin them at this time and then eat all your beet greens if you wanted to, but I'm not going to do that. I think I've got a nice set in here. I've got enough that are going to do just fine in the pot. Beans are doing good. We had some trouble early on when we lost some beans. That one that got its top nibbled seemed to have survived, so it's going to put on some leaves. This is its kind of bigger brother here, really going. I've got some what would look like flower buds right here. So this means that I'm going to have some flowers, and then where the flowers are is where I'm going to get some beans. So it looks like I'm going to have 8, 9, 10 beans here in the next couple of weeks. I got one leaf at the back that looks like it got munched by something. I'm going to clip it off, just so a plant doesn't have to spend time trying to repair itself. It can start focusing on its growth. Next up, we got my cucumbers. Not too much to say here, except that I've got a lot of flowers. I'm gonna have 8 or 9 cucumbers here in a little bit. So your blooms, and might even have some tiny baby cucumbers closer to the plant. Yeah, I've got a cucumber here, really small. See if I can get it out of here, right there. So when your cucumbers are putting on fruit like that, you wanna make sure that the soil is getting watered pretty well. I'm gonna do a finger check here. It's kind of damp, so I'll probably do a water today and might do a water every 2 days or so, depending on how dry out this gets. You could also fertilize, again, your cucumbers today. If you've got a little bit of that fertilizer left, they would love that. And then tomatoes, we're going to be looking at that, doing a little bit more trimming. So we're gonna look at some clipping. You can really start going at the bottom kind of leaf branches. So the ones that just have leaves on them, and you can trim the bottom 3 or 4, and the plant will like that. And again, the plant is kind of focusing on feeding itself. So if you do that, there you go. Also helps with preventing any mold or mildew from coming up from your soil here. So if your soil stays damp too long, the bottom leaves can actually attract mold and mildew. It's a place for the spores to land. I've got some tiny tomatoes here, which is really nice. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And those will start ripening here in the next couple of weeks. And I'm going to trim this one sucker here. There's that. There's a couple more suckers here. There's one this is what a sucker does on your tomato plant when you let it grow. It'll grow into a full-on, like another top of a tomato. We talked about it being a hydra. It'll have tons of tops. But I wanted to show these, which are suckers that I transplanted from my tomatoes in my greenhouse behind me. You can see that I've got some trimming to do here behind on my trimming in the greenhouse, but this is something you can do with your suckers if they get too far. So these were tomato tops that look like this, basically. That's what one of these can do. So I basically clipped that off a plant, and I pulled these stems off, and you can bury your plant in a new pot with soil about that deep, and it'll look really sad for a couple of days, and then it'll pick itself up again. And then you'll get these extra tomato plants if you want. So yeah, if you've left any of these or you're unsure, now is a good time to clip them like this. And you can plant that right in another pot, right down to about there, a couple inches down. And this will look really sad for a couple of days. And then the plant will actually, you can see if you look really close on this, there's little hairs, will actually start sending roots out. So otherwise, tomatoes looking good. I'm gonna tie it up again, and again, checking for suckers. And you could also feed your tomato plant again today. So basically, once it's putting on fruit, you wanna make sure that it's got enough water and enough nutrients to do that. This is where the cucumbers and tomatoes are considered heavy feeders. They take a lot of nutrients, they take a lot of energy to produce these fruits and make them nice and big and juicy. So that's our 4th check-in on the take-home grow kits. If you've got any pictures of your plants, would love to see them. Would love to see how people are doing. We've gotten a couple through our Facebook. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.